Welcome to the Totally Honest Cooking Show. I'm Mark. Today we're doing chicken biryani. I got this recipe from Nick Sharma over at Serious Eats, and we're going to take a crack at it. I've made this a couple times before. It's actually written for lamb, but it works with chicken. We're going to start by removing any extra fat we got on here. Not all of it, obviously, because fat is delicious, but anything that's just hanging off that doesn't look very good, we're just going to cut off. Once that is done, we're going to start cutting these chicken thighs into 1-inch cubes. So about there. I go from this line of my thumb to that tip of my thumb. And that's more or less fine. Once you get used to it, obviously you don't need to measure as much. Now we're going to make our marinade, starting with 6 cloves of garlic. I've got 7 here, but that's fine. And a couple inches of ginger. We'll deal with the ginger in a minute. Start by taking the peels off of everybody. Once you've peeled the garlic, it's time to peel the ginger. Just use the back of a spoon. It goes nice and quick, especially around the edges. If you're trying to go around these edges, you're going to want to use a spoon. Okay, once that's done, everybody's getting grated over the box grater. On the small grated edge. Okay, after the ginger, you're going to go ahead and do the garlic. I kind of wondered whether I could run this through the garlic crusher, but it does seem like the box grater destroys it way more. Notice how this liquefies the inside of the garlic. Next, we're throwing in a cup of plain full-fat yogurt. Then mix it all about. At this point, we're also going to add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And we're going to mix that in as well. Then you're going to get a gallon Ziploc bag. You're going to put all that chicken in it. Once that's taken care of, we're just going to pour the yogurt into the bag with the chicken. Seal the bag. And mix it about. Try to maneuver the chicken so that everything gets coated in that yogurt too. Now that we've got our big bag of marinated chicken, we're going to stick this in the fridge overnight. It's probably going to be a little more than overnight because I'm not making biryani at 5 in the morning. So do with that information what you will. Okay, it's the next day and we're ready to get cooking. So we're going to start with 2 big yellow onions. We're going to caramelize these, but first we've got to cut them down. So you're going to cut them in half. Cut the nubbin off and peel them. You know how to do this by now. Now we're going to slice these up. So we're going for a thin slice. Again, we're going to caramelize these in a minute. From here, we're going to take 1/4 cup of ghee. Ghee is basically clarified butter. You can make your own. You can buy it at the store. The store is easier if it has it. I made my own. I thought about making a video for it. I did not. We're going to heat the ghee over medium heat. Then we're going to add our onions. You're going to stir this up. Break everybody up if you can. Try to get some butter on everybody. You know how we do. Then you're going to add a pinch of salt. And we're going to sit and stir this occasionally for about 20 minutes. We want everybody nice and brown. If it starts to blacken, you're burning it. Don't burn it. What's wrong with you? Be careful. After about 15 minutes or so, it's going to start looking like this. It's going to be browning a little bit. All the onions should be kind of translucent. You're picking up a little fond on the bottom. You know, all these, the normal onion cycle. And this is the time you're going to want to start paying attention to it so that you don't burn it. Just make sure you don't wander too far away, and make sure you're stirring it occasionally. Then they'll get a little darker. We're starting to get there. Make sure that you're scraping up your fond over time as you go so that you're not burning it at the bottom of the pan. And you're going to use this time to gather some spices. This is 1 teaspoon of garam masala. We've got the powdered kind here. Then over here we've got the solid kind. You're going to want to go with the powdered kind. I used a teaspoon of each because I figured why not. But due to the nature of the recipe, if you're only using a teaspoon, you're going to want to maximize that teaspoon. And I feel like in order to get the full spice flavor of the solid kind, you're going to have to use a lot more than a teaspoon. Over here, I've got 2 bay leaves, 2 cinnamon sticks, and 5 green cardamom pods. It says lightly cracked, so we're just gonna... Actually, I have no idea how to crack a cardamom pod. Huh. Okay, so it turns out that the way you crack cardamom pods is to heat them in oil. So when this finishes up, I'm just gonna throw 5 in. Now it is worth noting that you're not supposed to eat these. They should be discarded afterwards, after their flavor is imparted, but whatever. Over here we've got some Kashmiri chili, or at least the closest thing we can get. It's made from 3/4 teaspoon of sweet paprika and 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Moving along down the line, we've got 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric and 1/2 teaspoon of ground mace. I couldn't actually find ground mace in a store, so I bought whole mace and I threw it in a coffee grinder. I'm not sure I mentioned the 2 bay leaves and the 4 cloves. Now the onion's nice and caramelized. We're going to remove half for later. I'm going to take this minute to dice up a serrano pepper. We're mincing. It's Indian food, so it's going to be spicy. If you don't like that, remove the seeds and the center. I'm not going to. We'll see if that was a mistake later on. Okay, so now we're going to add our dried spices. And we're just going to let them sear for a second. But my bottom's starting to burn. I hate it when that happens. I don't like my bottom to burn, so I'm just going to pour everybody in. Along with 1 cup of chicken stock. Forgot the mace. Ooh, wait, no. There was mace on the other thing. That's a whoopsie doodle. See, what happened there was I ground up the mace. I put the extra in the glass container that I just dumped in here. And time made fools of us all. Ideally, you get all this stuff ready ahead of time, right? So there's your serrano pod. I've made this before, and the error that I made in this case was that I didn't gather everything beforehand, which is #1 problem on a cooking show. Have all your stuff ready. Even if you're not on a cooking show, have all your stuff ready. Here it calls for a bunch of mint and a bunch of cilantro chopped. So you're going to pick over your cilantro. This should be done before the last step, but I ran out of time looking for everything. Google says that a bunch is like 3 ounces. I do not have 3 ounces of either of these things. You do you. It's probably better with more mint, but I didn't have the full amount. I'm making a yogurt sauce to go with this that I'm not making on camera because this is already quite involved. That requires mint as well. Okay, we're gonna cut all this up. Okay, once everybody's chopped, throw it in the pot, mix it in. Then increase the heat. Okay, once it's boiling, we're going to put the lid on it. We're going to drop the heat to like medium low. Let it simmer. Let it simmer for 40 minutes. While that's going, I'm going to prepare my rice. This is 2 cups of jasmine rice. I'm going to run it under the sink until the water coming through it is no longer cloudy. Then I'm going to place this 2 cups of jasmine rice in a large bowl with 4 cups of water on it. Yay! Note I said jasmine rice. Biryani is best with basmati rice, but I have a glut of jasmine rice that I need to use, so that's what we're using. So we put our rice in a saucepan with 4 more cups of water, 2 teaspoons of our ghee, and 1/4 cup of lime juice. This is supposed to make the rice not stick together and prevent breakage and all kinds of good stuff. At least it would with basmati rice. I don't know if that would work with the jasmine rice, but I'm doing it anyway. Yeah! So we've taken off the cover, and now we're increasing the heat to medium. And now we're going to boil this until we have about 1.5 cups of this liquid left. That'll take, according to the recipe, about 5 minutes, but we'll see. We were also supposed to put 2 of the green cardamom pods in this pot. I put 5 in with the chicken when I should have put 3. Whoopsie doodle. Once the rice is boiling, you're going to time it out for about 2 minutes, and then you're going to drain it. Once the rice is drained, you're going to go ahead and preheat that oven for 350 degrees. Because we haven't dirtied enough things here, I've got 1/4 cup of warm milk. I put this in the microwave for 30 seconds. The recipe says to do it in a saucepan, but all of my pans are dirty now because we've done this, and I've destroyed things, and I made ghee. Anyway, okay, we're going to take 20-ish threads of saffron, and we're going to grind them up with the mortar and pestle. I've never been good at using a mortar and pestle. Now we're going to put the saffron threads that we've kind of ground up because I'm terrible at mortar and pestle, and we're going to put them in the warm milk. And we're going to let that stand for 10 minutes. Hey, I promise we're entering the final phase. Now we're putting the rice over top of our Dutch oven full of chicken. Once it's all on there, we're going to make a layer. Try to be even about it. Don't be a perfectionist though, because it won't be perfect. Then we're going to pour our saffron infused milk over the rice. Next I have 2 teaspoons of Cura water and 2 teaspoons of orange blossom water. Anyway, we're just gonna drizzle. The recipe calls for rose blossom water instead of orange blossom water, but I used what I could find. Then we're tossing in half of the caramelized onions that we reserved for garnishing. And then I'm throwing in a bunch of raisins because I like raisins with this, especially if you get it hot. And then I'm putting in broken cashews. And now we're covering the lid with 2 sheets of aluminum foil that overlap. Try to get it on as tight as it'll go, because this is how we're finishing our rice. And now we're sticking it in that oven for 20 minutes. When it's done, we just remove it from the oven and we take off the top. And there it is, in all its glory. Let's get ourselves a serving, shall we? Now remember, be very careful because the Dutch oven is very hot. I like to mix it around as I go. I also like to make sure I get some garnishing from the top. You can serve it just like that, or you can make this yogurt herb sauce with onions in it. I'll include a link to that down in the description. Now that I've dirtied around 50% of the things in my kitchen, I'm going to go ahead and get to know this biryani. Like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you next week. Bye.